Is that like an Aborigine
It's
kind
a
of?
didgeridoo, yes.
Okay.
Oh boy, I have to warm up. Anyway,
I
but
love
I
it.
love it, and I always felt drawn to this. And I'm going, okay, how do you go from to that? I mean, how?
Welcome to the Create Happy Now podcast, dedicated to helping you start your journey to discover true happiness. Join me, your host, Susan Blanton, weekly as we explore the transformation stories and words of wisdom from our masters of happiness with tips you can start applying today to create happy now. Hey, this is Susan Blanton with the Create Happy Now podcast, and today I have on my show Ruth Ratliff. Ruth is a voice and vibrational sound therapist, teacher, author, and speaker. Her work centers on the belief that voice and vibration are instruments of healing, empowerment, and connection. Ruth's holistic approach combines science and spirituality to help her clients access a conscious transformation to lead a healthy, fully expressed life. Ruth is a licensed, certified vibrational sound therapist and holds certifications in vocal sound healing, Reiki, and integrative energy therapy. Ruth has been a performer, holistic voice coach, and workshop leader for many years. Ruth's book, The Voice of Woman's Wisdom, can be found on Amazon. Well, thank you so much, Ruth. It's such a pleasure to have you today, and I'm so excited to learn a little bit more about sound therapy and how you got into sound therapy. I know you're a vocalist and a vocal teacher, and just we would love to hear about just how you got started in sound therapy, coming from your experience as performer. And what could you bring to us today to the listeners to educate them a little bit about how sound therapy is beneficial for healing in so many different ways?
Yes, it is. Susan, thank you, by the way, for asking me to be with you today. Such a pleasure,
You're
and
welcome.
so wonderful to know you. To make your acquaintance, and it's such a journey, isn't it, for all of us? You look back and you go, "Well, how did I get here?"
Yeah.
And it's hard to see unless you're already there at one of the destinations. So if I look back and I start to look at all the little threads and the little strings that were pulling me along to this particular path, I guess it would be my relationship with music first and foremost. Yeah,
Yeah.
first and foremost. Always had a passion for singing. When I was in kindergarten, I remember the kindergarten teacher told my mom, "You need to give her voice lessons when she's older." Um, it was always such a piece of me. Everything was music. Everything was a song. Sounds. I was enchanted by birds when I was
Mm.
a child. The sound of birds. My first word was burr.
I bet your
So
mom wasn't too happy about that, wasn't
no,
mama?
she loves birds too, so she actually thought that was cool. Um,
Okay.
but it was always, the sounds of nature. Excuse me. The peepers, the spring peepers in the spring, the beautiful crickets in the fall. It's magical, and of course, then the world of music. Oh my gosh. Opened up a whole new world for me when I started to take voice lessons at the age of 13. The world of classical music, opera, exploring emotions through music.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was huge for me because my background, unfortunately, I love my parents. They're both deceased, and they're probably listening in right now, but
I bet. Yeah. Yeah.
um, they had their issues. My dad was a very high functioning alcoholic, angry guy, very angry guy. So there was a lot of yelling, a lot of anger, a lot of abusive, verbal abuse, mostly verbal. I don't, not too much physical. Mother was, like almost like an abused wife. So there was a lot of passive aggressive behavior, codependent behavior. If you get into the whole, not to get into the whole alcoholic family dynamic, but it's so common,
Oh yeah.
Susan, right? It's so common. And so there was a lot of wounding that happened with me, my brother, my younger brother, and I. A lot of wounding. My brother later developed manic depression as a result of that.
Mm. And I'm
But
sure you had to find ways to escape. And I'm
oh
sure that
yes,
music was
music,
what is your
huge.
escape. Yeah.
Absolutely, music and riding my horse, just jumping on
Ah,
her bareback and going off into the fields.
my
Yes,
horses were my therapy too.
yes. Exactly. Oh, they are, horses
Mhm,
are, they know,
mhm,
but I
mhm.
think part of it was with her too. I had to learn assertiveness with her because she kept bucking me off. And I finally just one day I just got mad. And here's my little pipsqueak 12-year-old, 12-year-old, and she's 16 hands, and I'm whipping her with her at the end of the lead rope because she wouldn't go in her stall. And all of a sudden she went, oh, okay. And from that moment on, we were best friends.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I could just no halt, just a lead rope with a halter, and boom, ride bareback. And it was just beautiful. So that was a big piece for me. I think she taught me a lot. And
Yeah.
certainly music, certainly, absolutely, because there was, as I said, there was a lot of wounding going on in that situation with my folks. My dad actually wound up on Christmas Eve. I was getting ready to go out shopping with my then boyfriend, and I my dad came home drunk, from work. He was an industrial arts teacher, very talented man, and was having too few many beers and was got a little belligerent. And I confronted him and said, "Dad, you're an alcoholic," and he slapped me across the face. I left. That was it, and that was the last time I saw him alive.
Oh
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah. Christmas morning, we were woken up by a state trooper. He left after that, after I left, and he drove down somewhere. It was a snowstorm, and we don't know what happened exactly, but he got out of the car and was hit by a car. So
Oh
he
gosh.
passed away. So that was Christmas morning when I was 17,
Mm.
and I noticed my mother. My mother, I only saw her cry just a little bit once. Talk about not modeling healthy emotional expression. So that's what I mean when I said about the world of emotion with opera, to
Mm.
circle that back around.
Yeah.
It wasn't like safe to express emotions. I wasn't taught to express myself, to assert myself, to be um to get what's the word,
Acceptance
acceptance, and
or
yeah,
adoration and
yeah,
love.
just like to say, yes, you count, you matter, what you're saying matters. It's okay for us to talk about things as a family. You bring your problems to me. None of that was
Do as I
communicated.
say, not as I do, kind of.
Right. Validation.
We-
Validation is the word I was looking for. There was no validation.
mm,
Certainly not good modeling. So yeah, that's all part of what we need to have from our parents to grow up in a healthy way, to be a fully actualized adult.
yeah.
And most of us don't get that because our parents didn't get it. How are they supposed to give us something that they
Yeah, they didn't
themselves
have
don't?
they didn't
Right.
have a good education on parenting either.
No.
And I think that's the hardest thing is, we're not given a manual when we have a kid on how to be a parent, because first of all, each child is different. And I think we don't realize that the first 7 years are so critical in that emotional programming that kids go through, that takes a lot of therapy later to unravel and decode and reprogram if you wanted to go through that. It comes back to that point. But you learned in some ways how to self-soothe,
Yes.
through of
Yes.
going out into nature,
Yes.
to finding, like a meditative escape, to be with music, which is so healing, to be with nature and animals. You know,
Very,
the
very. Yes.
animals are so
Yes.
healing. I don't care what one they are. Um, they're here on Earth for us. Most of them are,
Mm.
especially if
Mm.
they developed a relationship with us.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and so, kudos to you for, as a child. I mean, I know it's hard. I mean, I was kind of an oldie child. My sister was 11 years older than I was, and nobody wanted to play with me. I mean, like, as long as I was just not a problem, they didn't care. As long as I came home for dinner and ate when I was supposed to do my chores and get good grades, I don't care what I did. So I was out in nature playing with my horse. I mean, my dad was like, "Oh, you want a horse? Here's have one," and then get on my, just go do the horse thing. So I was spending all my time with my horses, and I was also a flautist. So, I did singing. I was in choir, and I was always in contests with, um, either music. I went to Europe for 3 weeks,
Mm.
to tour with a band, as a flautist. And so, yeah, I mean, I get how music and performing is one thing. And not everybody gets a chance to perform, but there's something about performing that's just exhilarating.
Mm.
It's a high in and of itself. It's
Yes, it
just,
is.
uh, and I miss that. I haven't performed since I was in college. So, but I have gone to sound baths, and I'm also learning sound bath therapy, just so I can know it better. I mean, I've enjoyed it and I've loved it. So yeah, I want to know more about it as well. So can you
Mm.
tell us a little bit about, so you're a performer,
Excuse me.
and then you were teaching, um people, vocal, um so how did you get to sound bath or sound
Mhm.
therapy?
Sure.
How'd that evolve?
Yeah, as I was saying before, about the music being an escape and everything, just to continue on real quick with that and then move into your question.
Yeah.
Um, what was profound for me was the loss in my life and how that opened me up, I think. It was not only my dad, but then when I was 29, my mom was diagnosed with cancer.
Mhm.
And my brother and I knew that, but she didn't tell us that she only had a couple months, was told she only had a couple months to live.
Oh gosh.
So, she was basically filling up with a lot of fluid, and I had to keep taking off of work to bring her to the doctor to get drained. And I didn't know what was going on. It was very dysfunctional because she wasn't communicating with us. She wasn't allowing us to be part of her death experience. And it could have been so beautiful and so um, connecting and intimate and loving. And so she denied my brother and I that opportunity and herself as well. But so I found out the day she died at the hospital that I'm supposed to let her go and not put her on life support. And my brother got in there to see her right before she died, which was good. But then she passed. It was horrendous, obviously, big shock for both of us. But he unfortunately spiraled down into a much deeper depression after that, as with the manic depression. He was married at the time too, but he wound up committing suicide 9 months after my mother died.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So people will be like, well, how did you move through this? And I mean, in retrospect now, obviously it's been decades. I was talking about, how the strings and all the things that brought me to this. Those moving through those tragedies allowed me to expand, moving through that grief. And I just had a recent loss of my little dachshund Baxter, 14 and a half years old, last July. knocked my husband and I on our butts with the
Mm.
grief.
Mhm.
Horrendous. So it's almost like, you just keep releasing, 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 and expanding. And so I think part of the reason I have come from, I wanted to be a nurse. I had a semester of nursing in college. Wasn't for me. I knew I wanted to be of service and help in some way, shape, or form, but I believe that the moving through all of that grief allowed me to expand enough to take in, as it were, the unseen,
Yeah.
shall we say. And my parents were very spiritual. They, if you're familiar with George's Gurdjieff, the Gurdjieff movement, they were both involved in that, and my brother and I were also involved in that. We used to go into New York City and do what they call movements classes with his music. He was long since deceased. He was a contemporary of the 1800s, I believe. And But brilliant man, talking about attention, basically like Eckhart Tolle
Yes.
speaks about, the power of now. That was Gurdjieff's mantra, was keep your attention on the present moment.
Oh yeah.
So
That's
there was a,
that's
yeah,
magical
yes. So my
in
parents were
so many ways.
seekers, even though they had their own issues, they were seekers. So I had this like framework for moving into a greater realm of maybe of helping people,
They planted the seeds.
planted the seeds. And then as a professional singer, working through all that, doing all different, moved through a lot of different types of music. I was in a swing band for 5 years. My husband and I had a swing band. I had my own one-woman show called Songs of the Heart. I was in a lot of different plays, area plays, and I was with an opera company for a couple of years. But music, I found, opened me up in so many ways.
Mhm.
And there was a joy listening to music, certainly singing. Oh my gosh. Nothing, I mean, okay, singing is probably one of the top five experiences of to sing with your voice full out, like as you do in classical
Oh,
music,
because you're
even.
feeling the vibration, not just hearing it.
Yes,
You're feeling it, you're
yes.
resonating it, and you're also projecting it. So it is just completely enveloping you.
And now that if you, with the new study of cymatics, that they're finding out that the voice or any sound for that matter actually is not just a waveform. That was very, 3D. It's
Mhm.
actually a holographic bubble.
Mhm.
So you literally are bathing not only yourself in this bubble, this holographic bubble of cymatic sacred geometry
Mhm.
when you're singing, and all these frequencies, because the voice is not just one frequency, it's all these frequencies above called overtones.
Yep.
Okay, you're bathing yourself in all this and in everything surrounding you, and you're raising the vibration of the area, the nature. So it's so profound, and it's not just singing. Even singing's wonderful, but just sounding,
Yeah.
anything like that. And I have my original sound off. There it is. So
Oh,
so
yes. And
that
the
was
thing it
huge.
yes. And the thing that's wonderful about singing is and I can't remember what it's just not coming to me right now, but there was a scientist, right, that talked about how water crystals
Oh, Dr.
can be
Emoto.
yeah,
Hmm.
yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
So how much of the body is percent of water? Hello.
Right.
And so
Yes.
we are because vibration and high vibration is your your good feelings, because your thoughts are feelings. I mean, you can put
Yes.
they have the rice experiment, where you can put a thought on a jar of rice that's positive, a thought that's bad, and it affects it.
I know
So
somebody that did that, a real person
mhm,
with real results. She was a teacher, and she had her class do this. And it came out exactly that the rice that they
yeah,
spoke nicely to was all
yeah,
fresh and nice, and they did a control rice, that was
mhm.
just kind of just sat there and sort of molded. But the other one that they said nasty things to got black.
Well, and the thing is that if you can listen, like if you're having trouble with coming, like if you're kind of depressed, you can't come up with that thought, that authentic high vibration thought, then the music can help bring that higher vibration to your being, your
Yes.
and
Yes.
so that's kind of like a kind of a cheat way in if you're really upset, and it always boosts your, like if you listen to your favorite music that brings you back to the best times
Mm,
ever, you know obviously that's going to raise your mood, raise your vibration, make you kind of tingle all over, and maybe want to get up and move. That is the most powerful thing. And I think and I'm just learning about this, but there's a correlation between the 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 notes of, the eight not the octave, the eight
the
tone,
scale,
the scale, the
the
scale.
Western scale,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Yeah,
I think they said there was like a ninth,
right.
but there's a correlation with that and the wave colors, of the rainbow. That there
Mm,
is a um like the 528 hertz and the
mhm.
rainbow. So it's all connected. It's
Oh,
all
right. All
connected.
connected, and sound, music, light, vibration, it's
Mhm.
all the same thing. It's all frequency, it's all vibration. So there's I feel like the music, my own, I really feel it was the frequencies of my voice that helped to move, really to move the trauma, the grief trauma, the dysfunctional family trauma out of it. It really moved it into my energy body, or let's just say it transmuted it, because those are all of my life experiences. I wasn't trying to push them away, even though sometimes we want to if they're horrific, right?
Yeah.
But they really make you you.
They're your experiences. They are
Yes,
your journey. It's your path. It's your
yes,
something that you came here to do, is
right.
experience being a human being, and that comes with it sometimes.
And yeah, pain, pleasure, right? Joy and woe. When this we know, through the world we go. There's part of a poem,
I like
with
that.
that. So yeah, it's all the fullness of who we are, and not to push it away, but to allow it to be, but not lodged in our body, not suppressed. And that's why I work with the people, work with my clients with their voice, because the voice hooks into your subconscious, uh,
Yeah.
your right brain, and it's there's not words. With therapy we do the story with the words, and we
Hmm.
don't want the words. We don't do the story. We just the feeling. And if you go into your body will always tell you, what can I what can I learn from you? Where do I feel this in my body? I'll have people put their hands on their chest or their solar plexus, their back. I have a back issue, not being supported, whatever that means. And always looking and getting that deeper listening, the deeper conscious listening to our bodies, to our inner landscape, to just say where, without overthinking it, to just bring forth a sound. What would that feeling sound like if you could give it a sound, and to allow the body to express that through your voice? That can be miraculous, absolutely miraculous. I'll tell a real quick story. If you're
Okay.
familiar with myofascial release, it's not like massage. They use compression to
Hmm.
melt the fascia of the body. So I was at a session a few years ago, excuse me, and the therapist was compressing my chest for quite some time. I started to vibrate. It's called unwinding. Your body will like release with shaking
Yeah.
sometimes.
Almost like
And
shivering in a way.
yes, like shivering, exactly, Susan. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes this primal yell that was completely involuntary. I was like
Wow.
along for the ride. Ah!
And
And
you're like, excuse me, because you're just like, it
it
just came
blew.
out.
Yes, but my body released the trauma
Ah,
from
nice.
through my voice. And that was one of the things that brought me to sound therapy, which is part,
Mm.
your voice is part of that, okay? Because I was like, blew my mind. So there's a reason why I've been given this voice, why I've had issues with my voice, why I've had issues with expression, being shut down in speaking my truth, so I can heal myself and help to heal others with that. And through that, I became involved with sound therapy. Long story short here, or short story long, whatever. Uh, uh, I became involved with these beautiful instruments because I feel like they're an extension of my voice.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that was, I taught voice for 20 years and I absolutely saw how it changed people, how it changed me, how it allowed me to heal from all this tragedy in my life. Saw my students, the young teenagers, awkward, working, trying to deal with the stresses of being a teenager, being in the school system, doing all the work they have to do, dealing with their parents and friends. And they became more poised, more empowered. They were taking more risks. They would say that I just feel better about myself.
And they probably discovered a little bit more self-love too.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that's something that it just kind of comes with, because when you feel that beautiful sound emitting from your being, your body, your voice, and you love it, you can't help but love the source that it came from. Like, wow, I love how my voice is soothing to me, to hear
Yes.
myself sing. And and the flow that you've given yourself, it's an act of love to
Oh,
sing, really.
definitely. Or just to make sound. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Just to make organic sound. That's been a big journey for me as a trained soprano to allow myself to do intuitive singing, intuitive sounding, and not sound pretty. And what I think is pretty or structured or even on pitch. I sing with my bowls. I sing the bowls, the crystal bowls, and I generally am like a little bit off, and it creates a binaural beat,
Oh
which is
yeah.
kind of interesting. So I do that in my on my own, when I play my bowls. That has helped me. And now I'm starting to do it. I was doing it in my sound sessions as well, and people will always tell me, you can't listen to your own inner conversation, right?
Mm-mm.
Sometimes people will always tell me, I love when you sing. I love when you use your voice. When you used your voice, I journeyed. I went to another time. I saw these amazing colors. These are all things that people have told me. I saw my mother in spirit. I saw you as an Egyptian something bending over with long
Wow.
hair, and there were two Egyptian guards on the other end going, "Must guard the priestess." Other end of my table. I saw an ET, what looked like a blue ET. This is all
It
stuff I hear.
takes people places.
Yeah. So what's going on there? And there's a quote. I mean, sound therapy is fascinating. As a quote I just heard from a really wonderful, she's I believe, a neurologist, an Indian neurologist, and she was trained in the States and then went back to India to study Ayurveda.
Mhm.
And she opened up a clinic there, and she wrote a book about sound therapy that's fabulous. Her name is Kulreet Chaudhary. And this is a loose quote: "Sound therapy is a bridge to your inner landscape where all the laws of nature originate from."
Mhm. I have found, even, it seems like when you're happy, you can't help but hum or whistle or sing. And I've even noticed there are times where I have a condition where my heart rate will just go fast for a little while, and it's sometimes uncomfortable. And the way I can bring it down is by humming And sometimes I hum like a lullaby because I think, well, that's how you soothe the baby, you know.
That's right. You're soothing
And
your vagus nerve.
yes, right.
Absolutely.
And it's just
Mm.
like, have to start humming and like, why are you humming like you're singing to a baby? I'm like, I'm singing to myself.
Yeah, Jonathan Goldman, who's a very famous sound therapist, he wrote a whole book called The Humming Effect. Humming is magical, just like toning,
Mhm.
vocal toning, your voice, sound therapy. It all it decreases your heart rate and your blood pressure, and it hooks into the parasympathetic response of the vagus nerve. So you're telling your body, it's okay to digest your food, to relax. You are safe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. It's time to
that's why
rest.
that's basically the premise how what sound therapy works on. It's in the self-soothing. And you can do this with your voice, as you found out with the humming.
Mhm.
Another thing that I found out too, there's just like an oo vowel is beautiful, voo, VOO. Help me recover or move through fear of flying.
Oh.
Doing
Mhm.
that on the plane, voo,
Ooh.
because you can that oo vowel really vibrates down, into your
Mm.
body, and it's creating all those beautiful patterns, as we said before, in the fluids and the cells, and it's literally reforming you molecularly.
Oh, absolutely. And if you haven't heard of or haven't listened to music for a while, you start to crave it. If you're used to that a lot and then it's been a minute maybe, you start to feel like, okay, and everybody probably has a different threshold. For you it's like, I haven't sung today. Okay, I've got to do some because I miss it, I crave it, I need it.
Mm. Your body's telling you that, right,
Hmm.
right, right,
Hmm.
right. Something missing in my life. Yeah, I had when I went through menopause, my voice started to just shift,
Hmm.
and it does because of the fluid balance with the estrogen. Your vocal folds are the outer three layers are like jello that hasn't hardened yet, so that's extremely viscous. And when they oscillate together very, very, very fast, like on a woman's high C, they're oscillating 100 times per second. And if they're sticky, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I
Ain't gonna
can't think
happen.
like I used to either. I'm like, oh, what
No.
happened to that? I used to
Right.
be able to
So
get up there.
that was sad for me that I grieved and I didn't sing hardly for 5 years
Mm,
because
hmm.
I was fatiguing. I had no voice after singing for 10 minutes. How am I supposed to, practice? Or I
Yeah.
could barely get through to sing the repertoire after my vocal exercises. I was done.
How does
So
Dolly Parton do it?
I don't know. Some women can do it better than others. I hydrate, but I've been working, I was working with myself, using myself as a human guinea pig for years with taking different concoctions and hormones and whatnot. But I've just come, I am still singing, singing with my husband's a music director of a church. I'm singing with the choir, so I have my hand in it, but I'm trying this different type of vocalizing, using my voice organically to heal myself and to help others and just help get some just maybe which is good for me in a way because I think it's actually very good because all those years of taking structured voice lessons,
Yeah.
you're really sort of being pigeonholed into somebody else's idea of what your voice should sound like to an extent, right? If you're
Yeah.
it's hard not to do that as a teacher. But you try not to do that, but it's sometimes it just happens anyway. So to be able to think outside of that, to color outside the lines with your voice
Yeah.
can get you see because if your voice literally is a holographic representation of you, and the
Hmm.
more you can stretch your voice to do things that you are not comfortable with, right? That's that's your brain, your subconscious is going to be like, oh, well, if I can do that with my voice, then I can do something else. So when you stretch your voice beyond those boundaries, those self-imposed boundaries, you will stretch yourself. That's why I saw these children, these teenagers taking risks.
Oh, yeah.
It was yeah, and
Yeah.
that's why I have been, given my background and all the fears and the self-doubt that I grew up with, I have been stepping out. I've been, it's like feel the fear and do it anyway.
Well, music tends to give you a little confidence. I mean, there's something
Yes.
about emitting
Yes.
music that kind of just, you just kind of, because first of all,
Yeah.
the way you have to breathe and hold yourself, especially if you're singing, I mean, or
Yes.
if you're using a wind instrument, um, you have to be in a certain pose, which is kind of like a Superman pose or your confidence pose. Your shoulders are back, and you have to breathe with your diaphragm, and all of those things create that vibration of confidence.
Yes.
And so that's what I mean. Of course, then when you're doing that, you're like, oh, I want to do a contest. And then you got to stand up in front of people and you got to perform. And then there's more confidence that you have to overcome and the fear that you have to overcome. And then you love it because it's just exhilarating. And then you want to do more of it, So, and then it just kind of filters into the rest of your, life. So it's just, music just has so many benefits that, I mean, it's just endless. It's an endless list.
Yeah, and what I like to do, I have a presentation called
Yes.
Ancient Medicine for Modern Times, which is the science behind sound therapy. And I compare music to sound therapy because people, they're not really sure about what's sound therapy, even though it's like the most up and coming amazing thing, and people are just, it's exploding now. But still, a lot of people aren't familiar with it. And I compare it because music is, creates a high vibe feeling in you. It
Yeah.
creates a high vibe feeling that moves your energy into a higher and lighter expression.
Hmm.
It can take you back in time to like if you hear music, right? What did I hear? Don't Stop Believing by Journey.
Oh, Journey. I mean, who
Oh my
doesn't like
God.
Journey?
Right? Who doesn't like Journey? But that I think "Don't Stop Believing" I heard was
Mhm.
the most downloaded song ever.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
listening to that in the car and just feeling that joy took me right back to when I was, like 19 with my
Yeah.
with one of my boyfriends. It was just like, wow. So music takes you back in time. It transports you. Sound therapy does this as well.
Mhm.
It can create a high vibe feeling. It creates a higher and lighter expression of your energy body, your body. It takes you back to process stuck emotions and
Mhm.
unprocessed healing. And it also entrains. One of the hallmarks of sound therapy is entrainment. And have you seen a bunch of metronomes in a room on a
Yes.
video, and then you come back an hour later and they're all in sync, right?
Hmm.
That's called entrainment. The same reason why when you hear a beat, you can't stop moving. You just have to move. It's very, your body wants to entrain or sync up with the dominant rhythm
Hmm.
of the beat, right?
Like
So
if you
this,
listen to somebody else's heartbeat, yours will
yes,
start beating at the same time as well. Yeah.
right,
Well, it's a tuning fork. You have a tuning fork over here, and
yes.
the other one just starts to vibrate without hitting it.
Right, right. It's that resonance. It matches the resonance, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's another piece of it too, is that music and sound therapy are alike because when you are being having it in a sound bath or you have bowls on the body, you're being that dominant sound. It is your wanting body is wanting to entrain or sync up with those dominant sounds.
And you
So
transform along with it. Yeah.
right.
It's
So
very,
that's
very
very
transformational.
simplistic, but I thought it kind of makes it a little like, oh, well, so it's not so woo woo, you know?
Yeah, it's very scientific.
And there's a lot more science out about sound therapy now about what it can do. It's being used in Europe. It had been being used in Europe a lot, more earlier on, but it's starting to be used now. Certainly music therapy, but people are doing. They're finding out that sound therapy and music therapy are a lot more effective than prescription drugs at helping people post and pre-surgery with nervousness and anxiety. It's very indicated for PTSD. something like insomnia or fibromyalgia, even because, especially the bowls on the body, I have these bowls, the metal ones behind you. I work with my clients on that massage table, put the bowls on their body, and it can increase blood flow.
Oh yeah.
So it
Oh
does
yeah.
help with the inflammation and the pain. My
Hmm.
husband swears by it with his knees.
Yeah, because your body's vibrating at a higher, healthier level. So obviously it's separating itself from that lower pain vibration.
Yes,
So,
yes.
well, Ruth, it has been a pleasure to have you on the show. And I think this is very educational for the listeners to find that, I mean, it's so beneficial to just whether you're performing or you're singing to yourself or you're just listening to music or whether it's just tones. I mean, just start, because there's so many things that you can benefit from it. Um, I was wanting to know if you could share with the listeners, what's your favorite quote?
One of my most favorite quotes is, "Life is not happening to me, it's happening for me."
For me. Awesome. Love that one. Love that one. And what's your favorite happy hack?
I like to, being a nature girl, I like to go outside in my bare feet and do grounding, earthing grounding, and I will shake because shaking releases tension and
Hmm.
stress. And then I make organic sound while I'm doing that. And I just feel amazing afterwards. Anytime you move your body and add sound to it at the same time, that is a that is a magical combination.
Plus, if you go out in the morning, you're going to hear the birds singing.
And the birds singing too, right?
Right? Well, that's great. So, what do you have for the audience today? How can they get in touch with you? What do you got going?
Sure. My website is ruthratliff.com, and my name, and I think you said you're going to put that down in the description.
Yes.
And I also have a recording of a crystal sound therapy
Ooh,
meditation for a free gift. And on
that's amazing.
the free gift page, there's also a video explaining a little bit about sound therapy. And you can also, I think, sign up on my website to my mailing list if you'd like to get some more information as well.
That is fantastic. Well, I hope everybody takes advantage of that, and just get into music. I mean, just listen to it, study it, feel it, use it, hum to yourself, sing to your children. I mean, sing to your grandchildren, sing to your dog. I have I sing to my dog. She has her own little ditty, that I sing to her for.
I believe it, yes.
So it's just sing every day or hum or whistle or play music or listen to music or go outside and listen to the birds sing, just get involved in music in some way.
Yeah, it's very, we're all affected by sound on so many levels, every second even of every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's so
Mm-hmm.
much more profound than we know.
Absolutely. And it's perfect for memory. I mean, it's profound. I mean, how many songs do we know the words to that we haven't listened to in 20 years? All of a sudden it starts playing on the radio and you just sing
Right.
along with it.
And yeah, our swing band was playing one year, and this woman at a retirement community, and this woman was dancing with her husband who had Alzheimer's, didn't know her.
Mm-hmm.
She came up to us afterwards, and with tears in her eyes, and she said, "I have to thank you because my husband, during one of your songs, my husband recognized me, remembered who I was. And we danced the whole song, and he knew who I was." And yeah, what a gift.
Oh, this is gonna make me cry.
It was one of the songs I was singing by
Ah,
Gershwin ballad. Yes.
that just gives me
Yeah.
shivers. Oh,
Right. So,
oh,
yes, that's the power of music.
yes, yes. All right. Well, thank you so much, Ruth. Again, it's been a pleasure. And you guys just check out her website. We've got it in the show notes. It's right here. And check her out and get in touch with her.
What a pleasure, Susan. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much. Bye now. Oh, wow.
You want
Yes, yes.
I don't, I'm learning. I'm brand new.
Is that like an Aborigine
It's a
kind of?
didgeridoo, yes.
Okay.
Oh boy, I have to warm up.
I
Anyway,
love it.
so you got to have the embouchure just like you do when you play the wind instrument. Same thing.
Mhm,
Or
mhm.
the flute, same thing. There's a, so, but I love it. And I always felt drawn to this. And I'm going, okay, how do you go from to that? I mean, how?
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Create Happy Now podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, and if you are watching on YouTube, hit that notification bell. If you have a topic to suggest, please leave a comment below. Catch the Create Happy Now podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Audible, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Listen Notes, and Podchaser. Check out other YouTube videos on the Create Happy Now YouTube channel, and if you want more, check down below for resources, courses, and events, or go to www.createhappynow.com.